The government will own your homes. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at a sorry development that's come out of New South Wales. We've heard about shared equity schemes before. It's one of the things that Labor went to, the election with. In, West Australia, and now Tasmania, and now, New South Wales. So it's bipartisan. You've got both Labor and Liberal governments coming in as a shared equity scheme to address housing affordability. So rather than letting the market correct, rather than reducing the costs and overhead and onerous requirements that they place on people to build and development, the government is going to come in and buy a chunk of your house. There you go, everyone. This is it. They're not going to let the market correct. I've been joking about Mortgage Keeper for years now. It's meant to be a joke, everyone. It's meant to be a joke. This is the government coming in and buying people's houses. So New South Wales government announces a $780 million shared equity scheme to address housing affordability. What about the state government would announce? Let me know in the comments if you ever remember state government announces $1 billion reduction in taxes or fees or charges. Has that ever existed? That doesn't buy votes as well as this, does it? Oh boy. I think Australia's screwed. So here we go. Frontline workers, single parents, and older single people will be eligible for a shared equity scheme to assist in buying a home under a New South Wales government plan. The state government has committed $780.4 million to the program, which closely resembles a policy brought to the federal election by the Albanese government. See, these idiots, they're all just copying each other. It would see the state government contribute up to 40% of the equity of a new home, or 30% for an existing property. Teachers, nurses, police officers, single parents, and single people aged 50 and over would be eligible for the shared equity scheme. Premier Dominic Perriotti said New South Wales scheme would run as a 2-year trial and work hand in glove with the federal government's program. We want to make sure that people right across New South Wales have that opportunity because we know home ownership is crucial to growing wealth, he said. And, that's... In the past, home ownership was the great equalizer. It allowed people to build a home, to have stability, to have security and certainty. Now, it's just getting crazy. And what kind of a mess is this going to cause? Since Australia is really going very left, very interventionist, very socialist. Okay? It really is. And I don't think putting forward any libertarian or individual liberty ideas or individual responsibility ideals are even going to have any chance in any election here in Australia in some time. We're too far hard left. Australia has just gone too interventionist. You've got the Greens calling to nationalise power production, and everyone's blaming the Liberal government. But what about the banks and super funds who proudly wouldn't lend to any fossil fuel projects or power plants? They're none of them. No criticism at all. Maybe we need a few months of rolling blackouts for people to realise the stupidity of their ways, although I doubt it. So it would be part of a suite of measures that would also include a push to boost housing supply. Initially, the government will help in the purchase of 3,000 homes per year, but Mr. Perriotti said that could be expanded if the program was successful. The Premier expected his government's plan would double the number of homes available to the eligible cohort. People need to earn a maximum of $90,000 individually or have a combined income of $120,000 per year to be eligible. They will have to contribute a 2% deposit under the scheme. 2%. 2%. On homes worth up to $950,000 in metropolitan areas and $600,000 in regional areas. Metropolitan areas include Sydney and regional centres, the Central Coast, Newcastle, Lake Macquarie, and Mid-North Coast and Illawarra. Treasurer Matt Keane said about 60% of properties in the state's housing market fell within the price range. He said all the singles, particularly women, were too often falling through the cracks when it came to housing and government's plans to help get them back on their feet. It's a huge area of growing social need. Well, this used to be part of the reason why you would establish a family, why you would pair off and build a future together, because the state wouldn't come to the rescue when you've probably well past the wall, frittered away your younger years, and are now on your own. So there you go. No wonder MGTOW's growing, really. No wonder MGTOW's growing. I don't blame the lads at all, to be honest. It's sad. More housing affordability measures are expected to be announced this week as the state government prepares to hand down its budget on Tuesday. Mr. Periotti has flagged his desire to scrap stamp duty fees, which he has described as the worst tax any government can have. He has said, however, he needs federal government support to do so. Yeah, they'll get rid of stamp duty, but then they'll replace it with the land tax. So you're paying yearly taxes forever. And then we've all heard the horror stories of someone missing like a $10 payment on their tax in America, and boom, them taking the property off you and selling it. This is just, we've got so much tax, so much of a burden placed on us. And I know there's some of you in the comments, you seem to love being the government's bitch. You seem to love paying taxes, guys. Have you ever sat in a meeting with a bunch of civil servants and seen how inefficient it was? How many people have just bullshit jobs? People are complaining, we need more nurses, we need more nurses. You ever sit in a health department meeting with a bunch of people organising something? There's so many people sitting there doing nothing. The Premier said his government's shared equity scheme leveraged off its Commonwealth counterpart, a plan which was admonished by the former Morrison government. Asked if his federal Liberal colleagues will change their tune, he said they'll see the light. I think it makes sense, he said. It's very easy when governments or opposition float reform ideas for people to come out and knock it and say it won't work. I will always encourage federal government, state governments to look at new ways of thinking. This isn't new ways of thinking. This is the same old shit just reheated again and again. New ways of doing things to provide great social outcomes. New ways to win votes. He said at last week's National Cabinet meeting was the most collaborative that he'd been to. Well, there you go. So he's perhaps seeing where the tide is turning and is taking a hard left to government intervention. Let's have a talk about this. Well, I mean, is anyone surprised? This is where Australia's heading, guys. We've voted for this. We've voted for to be a sustainable powerhouse. We've voted for blackouts. We've voted for government intervention. We've voted for government to help people buy their houses and the state to own a chunk of it. Australia isn't a liberal-minded, as in old school, individual liberty, individual responsibility country. Not by any bloody measure. Not at all. We can't be surprised with this. It shows you there's no difference between the big two. They're never going to let housing correct. Mark my words. They'll step in every bloody time. They will throw aside the futures of the next generation just to keep it all ticking on, because they're in the business of buying votes. That's all this is. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Are you surprised? Hey, at least it's not 80%. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, there are a few ways you can. You can support us financially on YouTube or Patreon. You can use our referral links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband, or you can buy our merchandise. We have pocket squares available from our website. If you need an architect, give us a call. We have a lot of education, retail, and mining sector experience. And take care, everyone. It's just more of the same, isn't it? The idiots really are copying each other. They really are. And I've got a little girl sitting down there having a good time on an iPad. I think she's caught the flu. It's fun and games. Which state do you think's next rolling out this rubbish?